Down, my bird,
way down,
down by the riverside,
well down,
down by the riverside,
How do you do your lips like that?
by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my bird.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. These are our friends Renee and Jerry Haycock.
Hey, how y'all doing? Good to see you.
Down by the riverside.
He's checking my aura.
He said, are your lips moist? And he goes, what do you have in mind?
I wonder if it would make very much of a difference if I went ahead and went to the bus and took him out.
The riverside, I'm gonna lay down.
Would you stop pinching his butt?
Which one have you done?
He was just wishing.
Down by the riverside.
You got my
Oh,
I hate writing checks. I could be so rich if I didn't have to spend any money.
now the
I want you to give him a good Memphis, Tennessee welcome here at Strings and Things. Mr. Aaron Wilburn. Make him welcome, Aaron.
Thank you. Thank you. It is good to be here. I remember on the road a few months ago, I met a man by the name of Joe Mayo, and he introduced himself to me. And he said, if you keep your joy to yourself, it will die of loneliness. And so my one goal in life is to make sure my joy does not die. And one way to do that is to get out and spread it around. And I love it, and I've been doing it all over the United States. I love to do it in the South especially because folks understand everything that I say in the South. It's the place where we can say anything we want to about people. Oh, yeah, as long as we say bless his heart. I go up north and people walk up to me and they say, oh, I know what that means. That means you're stupid. No, it does not. It can mean you're stupid, but it can mean a lot of things. It can mean compassion. Oh, she's so sick. Bless her heart. Or it can mean just pure love. That's the sweetest baby in the world. Bless its heart. It can mean thank you. Someone gives you a gift you weren't expecting. You say, oh, bless your heart. That means thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then it can mean other things. That's the ugliest man I've ever seen in my life. Bless his heart. Takes care of it all. And then in the South, we have good old boys. You know, there's the guy that talks about rednecks. Well, we have rednecks in the South, but we have good old boys in the South, too. And I guess we have good old girls in the South. But you might be a good old boy if somebody asks, what's your favorite kind of pie? And you say, moon. With an RC. And you're a good old boy if you've ever tried to use a weed eater for a trolling motor. And you're a good old girl if you've ever decorated a cake with a caulking gun. Now, you're a redneck if you've ever taken the ribbon from around a piece of bologna and flossed your teeth. You'd have to be a redneck man if you want to clean out your ears, but you can't find your truck keys. We look like we're trying to start something in there. And men, I found out what women are thinking when we're doing that. They're thinking, there ain't no need to turn it, there's no motor. Anyway, and I was thinking the other day, you know, we had some electrical work done at the house, and I was thinking you might be a redneck electrician if your last words are, that wire ain't hot. I think I'd do it. And then we have our own Southern culture. But you know it's the truth. It's in the names of the towns that we live in. I'm from a little place called Bobo, Alabama. Go ahead and laugh. God will put you somewhere like that. Right up the road from Bobo is Lick Skillet. Then there's Black Cat. And then in Mississippi, there's a little place called Chunky, Mississippi. I drove through there not long ago. There's a Monkey's Eyebrow, Kentucky. And then, right up the road, my wife called me on the way over here today, and I asked, "Where are you?" She said, "In Bucksnort." Bucksnort, Tennessee. And then right not far from here, there's Sweet Lips, Tennessee. If I lived in Sweet Lips, I would move. Because you don't want to be sitting around talking. And one of them asks, "Where are you from?" Nowhere. And then we go one step farther and give unusual names to our children. Well, we have unusual names in the Wilburn family, but I'm like y'all. I have to live with my family, so I don't talk about us. I talk about other people. And politicians are my favorite people to talk about because I feel like they talk about each other, and anything I say about them will be kinder than what they say about each other. So I just use politicians for examples, and there's some good ones. In the Gingrich family, there's Newt. And then for several years, the fine governor of Alabama was Fob James. This is true. F-O-B, Fob. Now, is it just me? Or does it make you wonder what kind of parent would look at a baby and say, "Oh, he's so sweet. Let's name him Bob." But the most unusual name I believe I ever heard, they said a couple back home named their son Odd. O-D-D. Kids at school laughed at him. He went to high school. They made fun of him. In college, they made jokes about him. He graduated from college. He got married. They had a family. He's sitting with his wife talking one day, and he said, "Honey, I hate my name. When I die, don't put it on my headstone. Just put the date of my birth, the date of my death, and leave the rest of it blank." So the years passed, and he passed away. She called the children in and said, "Your daddy hated his name, and he asked me not to put it on his headstone, so we're not going to." So they put the date of his birth and date of his death and left the rest of it blank. And to this day, people walk through the cemetery. They look at that headstone and ask, "Isn't that odd?" Now, another thing about the South, it's the place where we love family reunions. My wife is from Illinois. She wasn't used to that. They get together every once in a while, but not like we do in the South. It is a religious pilgrimage once a year. I see you shaking your head. You gotta go back. You'll drive 300 and 400 miles to go back to see people that you could not get along with. And you know what's going on in those cars as they converge on that place. If you only knew the conversations, you would hear something like this. "I'll tell you one thing. If she opens her mouth to me again this year, I'll give her a piece of my mind. Well, the one thing about most folks that want to give somebody a piece of their mind, they don't have any to spare. And then in the South, we go one step farther. We confess things we should not confess. We say things like, I've got half a mind. Now, if I thought I had half a mind, I would not admit it. I would at least give people the option of figuring that out on their own. A friend of mine said he was at a family reunion standing there eating a piece of pie. Just leaned up against the table eating a piece of pie. One of his aunts walked up to him and asked, how do you like my pie? He said, Aunt Irene, that's the best pie I've ever tasted. She asked, well, how do you like my crust? He said, to be honest, I haven't even stuck a fork in it. He said, that's the prettiest crust I've ever seen in my life. How in the world do you make your crust so perfect around the edge? She said, that's my secret. If I tell you, will you promise not to tell anybody? He said, I won't tell a soul. She said, well, I get my filling ready, and I set it to the side. Put my dough in the pan, and then I take my teeth out and just run them around the edge. And you're from the South, if you know where over yonder is. Where you live over yonder, we understand that in the South. And then you're also from the South if you understand that when somebody says, he's sorry, that does not mean he's asking for forgiveness. That means he is not worth the stick it would take to beat him with. And have I talked about any of your relatives yet? You're from the South if you know what a doozy is. And you're from the South if you know the difference between a hissy fit and a conniption. And you are really from the South if you know that a doozy of a hissy fit is a conniption. And you know, we're interested in things. We like to sit out on the porch and just think. That's the reason Cracker Barrel got that idea for sitting out on the porch. Because in the South, we just love to sit and just think. We like to think about things like, who was the person that first looked at a cow and said, I think I'll squeeze those dangly things and then drink whatever comes out? Well, as I said, I'm from Alabama, and heard a story about a couple from Alabama driving through Texas, and the state trooper pulled them over. And the lady couldn't hear real well, and her husband had to repeat everything that anybody ever said to them or he ever said to her, partly out of from her bad hearing and partly out of habit. State trooper pulls him over and says, sir, you were doing 75 in a 65-mile-an-hour zone. What'd he say? He said, I was speeding. State trooper said, I need to see your driver's license. What'd he say? He said he needs to see my driver's license. State trooper asked, where are you folks from? He said, Alabama. What'd he say? He wants to know where we're from. State trooper said, that reminds me. The meanest, ugly woman I ever saw in my life was from Alabama. What'd he say? He thinks he knows you. Now, I can look around and tell there's some single folks here in the audience. Got some young men, some young ladies. One thing you single people need to know about married people: we are miserable that you are single. We want you to be married too. We have a commandment: thou shalt not be single. Thou shalt be married. And if thou art, thou shalt have children. So we can say to you, I could have told you so. This guy, single, this guy kept going to weddings, and he had an older aunt that every wedding he went to, she'd walk up to him and say, you could be next. You could be next. He said year after year, wedding after wedding, he got so tired of his aunt telling him, you could be next, you could be next. He said, I decided I wanted to nip that in the bud. He said, I stopped that. He said, we were at a funeral. I walked up to her and said, you could be next, you could be next. I've got a little song that I'd like to share with you, because that's what we Christians do. Share. We don't spread rumors, we share. And we don't pig out, we fellowship. Well, as most of you know, I've traveled with the Gaithers quite extensively over the last few years. And those videos are just everywhere. I have people stopping me in malls and in restaurants. I saw you on the video. I saw you on the video. Gentleman sent me a song, and I added a little on to it. And I'd like to share it with you. A little song goes like this. It was 4 in the morning and I was awake. Sure, I was suffering from something I ate. I checked out the TV, nothing was on. Thought I'd put in a tape, watch some good gospel songs. In disbelief, I stared at my tape to see from the middle the kitty had ate. Solos and trios, quartets and more were nothing but snippets on my living room floor. Oh, mama, the cat ate the Gaithers. Bill and his buddies are gone. From out of its cage it went into a rage, sent the homecoming friends home. If you're making plans for Christmas, listen to my earnest plea. All that I'm wanting for Christmas, bring back the Gaithers to me. Tears fell like rivers from out of my eyes, for there went my 29.95. Precious memories in Memphis lying round everywhere. It looked a little like Guy Penrod's hair. The cat ran down the hall and I figured it out. He'd swallowed some tape without a doubt, 'cause he was dancing like Jesse, beat all I ever saw. He had a homecoming light in his little front paw. Oh, mama, the cat ate the gaither. Thank you. My son is here with me. Well, all my 2 sons and daughters here tonight, and I'm going to introduce them in a few minutes, but I'd like to introduce Jim. He's going to come up here and help me. A few months ago, I lost my voice, and he started helping me out on stage, and one thing led to another, and now he's traveling with me all the time. He's single, 28. All my friends have grandchildren. Yeah, I don't have grandchildren. I told him he needs a serious relationship, so he bought a bass boat. So now my friends show me pictures of their grandchildren. I show them pictures of a pro craft. Zippity-doo-dah. So here's a little song that I recorded before, and I'm going to record it again tonight. You ready? Goes like this. Since all her friends have got one, now my wife wants one too. A knee-length fuzzy fur coat, nothing else will do. Said she'd look real classy, make me proud of her. If I just break down and buy her a fur. Well, it got me to thinking, how am I going to swing that sort of deal? The Lord knows I can't afford it, and it's wrong to steal.
But the problem finally solved itself like a bolt out of the blue. It jumped right out in front of me on Highway 22. That big old German shepherd, my car he did not see.
Now he's in dog heaven, but his hide belongs to me. For 3 weeks in the basement, I worked late almost every night. It was mostly trial and error, but I finally got it right. I put it in a cardboard box, carried it upstairs to her. Oh, she was tickled pink to see that fur. Now she's got a fancy fur coat, reaches all the way to her knees. But she's been complaining lately, said her closet's full of fleas.
She don't know old Fido is wrapped around her tight. And she's putting on the dog when she goes out at night.
Well, she's been depressed here lately since I backed out over the cat. But I think she'll feel much better when I give her this new fur hat. Some of the things that parents say, you know, and I know these young people are thinking, when I have children, I'll never say the things to my children that my parents said to me. I have 3 wonderful children, but we do. In fact, I catch my wife. I watch her, and she does things like they'll be in the back seat of the car, doing something they shouldn't be doing. She'll say, "Move over here so I can hit you." And then she'll tell them, "Act like you've got some common sense." Now, if a child has any common sense, they are not going to move over so somebody can pop them upside the head. Oh, I remember one time Tyler didn't wash his face like he was supposed to. Oh, I've been through that with my mama. And you thought it was a religious thing. On the way to church, your mama tell you to wash your face, and on the way to church, she'd look at you and say, "My Lord, you didn't wash your face?" And you think, "Oh, I'm going to hell." She makes it sound so terrible. And then they tell you to do things you can't do. Just look at the back of your neck. But Tyler did not wash his face as he should have, and Roberta was going to take care of it. She was going to dry clean him. You moms know how to do that. Every mom, as soon as the doctor says it's a boy or it's a girl, moms know they've got a natural reaction. Dry cleaning. Roberta was going to dry clean Tyler, so she spit on her hand. And Tyler said, "Mom, don't do that." He said, "Let me spit on your other hand and you use my spit." Roberta said, "I don't want your spit on my hand." You women think different, I'm telling you. A little girl, this is a true story. A single mom came up to me in Oklahoma, and she said she had been a single mom since her little girl was just a few months old, and the little girl was one day wanting to be reassured that her mom would never leave her and that she would never be left alone. And her mom said, "No, hon, I'll always be with you, baby. I'll always stay with you." And she said, "Well, I'll always stay with you too, Mommy." And she said, I'll always be with you. And then, Mommy, if you're the tea kettle, I'll be the tea. If you're the doorknob, I'll be the door. If you're the bed, I'll be the pillow. And if you're the nose, I'll be the boogie. I want to do something here. Of course, I'll have Tyler and Roberta stand in just a minute, but I want to tell you a story about Emily. And Emily, I guess the only way to do it, to really get the full effect, so folks will really understand what I'm dealing with here, is to have you come up here for just a moment. And you can come up over the stairs right over here, honey. This is what I would look like if I was pretty. Everybody says she looks just like me. Bless her heart. She's wonderful. One day, do you remember the story about Ken and Barbie? Do you remember the day you had a dilemma in your life? She came around to the back, and I was planting tomatoes. It's a very important, manly thing to do in the spring. And so when she came around to the front, or to the back of the house, she said, "Daddy, can you come around to the front?" And I said, "Well, honey, I'm busy right now." She said, "Daddy, please, I need you." Well, that got my attention. And I asked, "Why do you need me?" She said, "Ken and Barbie want to get married, and I don't know the words." That little face looked up at me and asked, "Do you know the words?" And I said, "Yeah, I know the words." She said, "Daddy, please." I said, "Go on around front. I'll be around there in a minute." So I walked around to the front porch, and she's sitting there with Ken in his convertible and Barbie getting ready for the wedding. And I patted her on the head, and I said, "I'll be right back." Went into the bedroom. I put on a white shirt, a tie, and a sport coat, along with those old blue jeans that I was wearing planting tomatoes in. Walked into the kitchen, and my wife saw me in that get-up. Looked at me and asked, "What are you doing?" I knew she was thinking, it's finally happened. He snapped, bless his heart. And I said, "We're going to have a wedding out on the front porch. You need to come out." So I went out on the front porch, and we had a wedding ceremony. The reason I wanted to tell you that, in the year 2001, they tell me that I spoke in person to over 1 million people. I've seen a lot of smiles. I've seen a lot of happy people. I've seen people weep with joy. I've seen them laugh hysterically. But I've never seen a face shine more than the day I took 5 minutes out of my life to perform a wedding ceremony for Ken and Barbie.